Well, speaking of Xbox games going to other platforms, as of course we already mentioned, we just had a deep dive on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, or as my friend Chris McCracken calls it, the Freaky Circle. Indiana Jones and the Freaky Circle. Um, and I was really well. Actually, I probably shouldn't talk about my thoughts too much, but um, more specifically, the news related to this is that Machine Games has confirmed that this game is going to run at 60 frames per second on both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, which demonstrates, like we've been saying, that getting a game at 60 frames per second has nothing to do with the power of the console. It has to do with the willingness of the developer to do the work. So, what are your thoughts?
It's definitely I mean, kind of a surprise. Well, not a surprise. Let me say it. Let me retract that. Not a surprise that's running at 60 FPS on the Series X, because I think we all should expect that this game would run at 60 FPS on the Series X. I don't think there's anything. I don't think we should be doubting that that's possible. The fact that's running at 60 frames per second on the Series S, I think is definitely, sadly, I will say, an achievement, just because of the fact that I really feel like more games could be running at 60 FPS, but developers aren't putting in enough time or effort into doing it. So the fact that I have to say this, that I have to applaud them for doing this, is kind of sad, but at the same time, it definitely needs to be done since they're one of the few that are making this effort. So it's great that it's running at 60 FPS on the Series S. So that way, people who have an S will still, I mean, graphically it won't be the same, but as far as performance goes, it will be the same performance running on Series S as an X. So that is phenomenal. I love it. Now, as far as the gameplay, the expanded gameplay trailer goes, I definitely agree that the game is hooking me a bit more, especially with some of the sort of puzzle elements and some of the, I guess, sort of stealth sections, just because it really reminds me of parts of the movies where Indy was looking around, he was disguising himself, trying to get into a hidden area and stuff. So, like, I thought, wow, it's like the movie. I like this. This is great. And also, man, I need to figure out who's writing the score, because I mean, I don't think I really listened too much of it in other trailers, but this time I was listening to the music more, and I thought, this definitely sounds like it came from an Indiana Jones movie. It sounds like something that John Williams wrote. So I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, they're doing a good job with trying to replicate his style of music here. So I definitely like that. Now, one thing and it does definitely look good. And I like some of the changes that they've made, and especially with trying to, with it regards to exploration. The one thing I'm not entirely sold on, though, is the combat. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't really seem right to me. And I mean, to be fair, at least with the Indiana Jones games that I've played before, the combat wasn't necessarily. It wasn't the greatest. So in that aspect, you know, I might be a little bit too judgmental here, but at the same time, I feel like years later, after getting an Indiana Jones game that wasn't, I guess you could say, Lego Indiana Jones, I feel like maybe I kind of expected more, and it still feels a little underwhelming to me, but I might have to just look at some more footage and then make a decision on that. But I feel like with everything else, though, I am more intrigued than I have been before in the game, which is definitely getting me from being, I don't care one way or another if I'll get it or not, to, okay, I might actually get this game at this point. So definitely is starting to hook me in that regards. But yeah, definitely good stuff, and I'm very glad that the game is 60 FPS on every console. And I mean, it's most likely gonna be 60 FPS on PS5 too when that
Right,
comes
for
out
sure.
as well. So 60 FPS across the board, love to see it.
Indeed. Yeah, of course the 60 FPS is for me the biggest thing. That's the best part of this all, just because so few developers actually put forth the effort to actually get 60 FPS, but I'm really glad to see that Machine Games is putting that effort in. And from what I recall of their other stuff I played, which might actually only be Wolfenstein: The New Order, but I remember that one was really well optimized, and I have a feeling that, I mean, it's just they're good at making games. Everything I've seen of the game from the deep dive, I was like, yeah, the game looks a lot better than I thought it did before. Before I wasn't quite sure about it. I'm kind of with you on the combat. I'm just not really sure. I need to experience it firsthand to be able to say whether or not I would actually enjoy it. But I do think visually it's improved since the last time they showed it off. Particularly the character models look a lot better. I felt like it was much more detailed and realistic, and less feeling like just kind of in between on the visuals. So I was impressed with that. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it probably would not be a day one purchase for me because it's just kind of low on my priority list, unless I found out that it like ran amazing on Steam Deck. And if it did, then I would probably buy it right away. But that would more just be to show support for a developer actually making the effort to make a game like this run well on the Steam Deck. But I don't expect that's going to happen. I imagine it's probably going to be, it'll run better than Starfield, because Starfield is on the Creation Engine. The Creation Engine is terrible. But I don't think it's going to run well at all. It's not going to be, unfortunately, an actual verified Steam Deck game. And I would even take 30 frames per second if I had to on the Steam Deck. Even though more likely than not, I would just stream it from my PC most of the time. But regardless, overall, I think it's good. It looks great. I'm glad that it's not going to be limited to just one platform. I mean, it already wasn't in that it was coming to PC, but knowing that it will be coming to PS5 as well, that means that more people have an opportunity to play it, and that's all great. So, all right, any other thoughts on that?
No, sir.